Hello, everyone. What we wanted to do in one lesson, we'll now do in 3. In the previous lesson, we figured out how to write a Docker file, build an image, and run a container. In this lesson, let's deploy to Heroku manually, meaning without GitHub action for now. Since we're deploying to Heroku, we need to create an account there. Register using the same email as for all other accounts. So, you're registered. If they ask you to set up 2-factor authentication, I recommend using 1Password for all one-time passwords. 1Password is the best app for managing passwords. There, again, as I repeat, it will be convenient for you to save all passwords, specifically for your application, for your project, combine them into a group, and if necessary, you can pass them to someone. Okay? So, do we say we're not from Italy? Eh? On the contrary, we are not from Italy. All right, we save. And now we need to create our application here. Let's create the application. Let's come up with a name. We are told it's taken. It can be anything. What is our domain? Idea. Nick. Info. Well, let it be idea. Nick.info. Region. Well, let it be Europe. So, immediately asked to add a payment method. Previously on Heroku, you could create free applications. Now it has been severely restricted, so we'll have to shell out a little money up front, but it will be inexpensive overall. So now I'll add a card and continue recording. All right, great. The card is linked, and we create our application. Idea nick.info in Europe. All set. Create an application. Great. What do we need from Heroku? Heroku is essentially a hosting service. And it can deploy without Docker. And one might say, why are you showing us Docker if you can just push a JS project and it will run itself? But it will run itself. But as soon as you encounter an issue and it can't run it, you'll struggle to figure out what needs to be configured. Docker is much more reliable and allows you to deploy not just to Heroku, but anywhere. And you can test locally how it will work, and then in prod. That's why we aren't interested in this. We will deploy containers here. What's important to us on Heroku? On Heroku, it's important to set our environment variables. These n variables will be available later in our container. That's one. But we'll do it through the command line since we'll need to add a lot here. In the future, when you add one by one, it's possible. Interface. But for now, it's easier through the command line. We'll do this too. And then we need an SSL certificate here and to link a good domain. By default, it gives us something like this, but we already have our own domain. Let's link it. Okay, idea Nick, info. So, all set, we've been asked to link our domain. Now let's copy this and go to our Cloudflare and add the relevant NS records. Okay, good. We'll need 2 CNAME records. Insert the string, and, add, and we also need our www domain to work the same way. Save. Oops, CNAME. So, we save the target. Good. In general, we can also set up an automatic redirect from www to ideanic.info by adding rules here. Create. Rule. Yeah. Okay. And yes, we specify to redirect from here to there. One moment, Good. Rule added. Ah, it should start with HTTP. Good. HTTP. Let's check the DNS records again. All right, that's added. Let's go to this ideanic.info and let's see what we have there right now. Uh-huh. The host is not responding. One moment. Okay, let's go back to Heroku. See what it's telling us. Well, maybe we need to deploy the app. Then something will happen. I expected a placeholder here, but we will return to this if something goes wrong. Let's check www. The wwws redirects us. Good. The www redirects and it's fine. So we did this. So let's order S on cell. Let it do everything by itself. Fine. Got the SSL certificate. Domain connected. What else do we need from Heroku? We need some kind of database. Here it is. Theoretically, it can be hosted on another service too, but it's also available on Heroku. So let's connect it right away. So for this, you need to add an add-on. Postgres. Heroku. Postgres. So, well, let's take the mini. Up to $5 a month. You can explore the plans there. It's not difficult to switch from one to another later. Here. Well, we'll take the cheapest for now. Okay. Connected the database. Let's go to settings. We see it automatically added database.url for us. What a coincidence. It's exactly how we need it. Yes, we also have database.url, and our naming matches, and our... It might happen that he adds a scan with a different name. Then you can just copy the value, substitute it, and record it as database.url. All right. Okay. He set up the database for us. Moving on. Now let's pass all our other env variables here. How to do this? For this, we need the Heroku command line. So, you can install the command line using npm. I'll send a link to the doc for command line setup. There are many different ways, but in the end, when you succeed, you do Heroku login. It should take you to the browser and prompt you to enter your credentials there. Right now, it opened in another browser window for me, but you can just press login there, and that's it. After this, you are authorized. It shows as who? As the one you need. Good. You're authorized, and now you can run the command Heroku config set and then specify your app name with a flag. If it's one-to-one, it's not mandatory, but it's better to specify because it won't be good if you assign a bunch of env vars to the wrong project. Idea of nick.info. And now you need to pass all your NV like this. Since we have one app, we need all NV, both backend and frontend. And now we need to merge them into one line somehow. You can write all sorts of bash scripts, or you can just go here, put all variables there, and remove unnecessary ones. So the port isn't needed there. Hostenv in that application we will call production. We don't need the port here. Heroku will assign us the port. It will be dynamic. We already have the database URL. GVT secret. It's crucial to assign something truly unique here and never lose it. Because if you lose your GVT secret in production, no user will be able to log in. Okay? You need some real secret salt here. Initial admin password. Something scarier than before. All right, web app URL. Now you know what you have. Idionic.info. Then Bravo remains. This is from email name awkward. Idionic. Okay, good. Debugging we have. Well, what kind? We will simply log everything. Let's log everything. Sentry stays clean. Source version. Later, when we connect GitHub Actions, the source version will be included in your commit. For now, okay? Setting 1, 2, 3. Cloudinary is fine. S3 is fine. Host env is redundant. Source version is already specified. We specified it. And, on the contrary, we removed it. Good. Source version, we're just stopping. We'll leave it as it is. Leave the sentry out token. We change the tier PC endpoint. So, now it's the same for us. After all, everything is distributed by one process, both backend and frontend, so here. So, webapp.url here. White, Cloudinary, Mixpanel, APK. Great. So, right now we might have issues where there are some gaps. Well, let's see what we get. So we did it, placed a space, copied, pasted, called. Okay, let's try to put double quotes. So, let's take the beginning of our string. So, says it turned out for him. Go to Heroku. Let's open our NV vars. And now all the NV vars are here. All of them. You don't need to save this file on your end. So, everything will stay in production. And if someone has access, they can see these NV vars here. Great. Now we can proceed to deployment. We'll need the following commands. I'll add them to the package JSON. Next, the following. So, what's being added here? We're taking everything old from our usual lesson. Let's rebuild our deployment once more. Image. Make sure everything is up to date. Docker compose build. Good. And I remind you at this stage, we just built. These env variables aren't passed in there. They're only passed when launching the container. Heroku will now launch our container himself, so it knows nothing about our env files. All right. Okay, let's go to our package JSON. We see that everything is built. Now we can tag our image. We named it, yes, idnisimage, with a certain tag. This tag is needed to push it to Heroku later. So, it needs to be named based on the name of our application. Our application is called idnicinfo. Idnicinfo. Stop idnicinfo. All right, let's try. Oops, unnecessary file. Let's try to call Docker tag. This doesn't change our image. It just adds some meta property tag to it. pnpm dth docker tag Heroku. Okay, he did it. Now we can push our image to Heroku. Let's push it. Docker tag Heroku. Docker tag? All right. One moment. So, yes, it makes sense. We have an authorization error because we logged into Heroku, but we will need that in the next step. And now we're trying to push something using the Docker command. And for that, We need to log into the Heroku repositories for images. Heroku container login. Okay, granted. Now maybe they'll allow us to execute the push command. Okay, it's starting now. Our files are uploading. In the future, files will upload faster because, as I said, our system is layered, and those layers that don't change, like our node version, almost never change. Therefore, nodes will simply be pushed as is. All other files will depend on whether they have been modified or not. Now we need to wait until our image reaches the Heroku registry. Right. But once the image is uploaded, remember that an image is just a snapshot of certain files. Our app won't work yet. Once our image is uploaded to the Heroku repository, Heroku will have access to it. Then, using this command, we can tell it to release our application, and it will find our latest image and run a container from it. So, let's wait until everything is pushed and release it. All right. Okay. Our image got pushed there. And now we call the Heroku container release and specify our application name, so PNP. He said that he released it. Now we can go and look at our container logs. There are also terminal commands for this, but nothing stops us from coming here and checking the logs here. Yeah, and everything crashed. In general, I know why it crashed. It crashed because I have a MacBook with an M1 processor, while Heroku has a different processor. And in order for it to build properly under Heroku, I personally have to specify the platform I'm building for in Docker Compose when building the image locally. And the problem with this is, it will take me a long time to build because it's not my native platform. But we'll deal with these challenges in the next lesson when GitHub builds everything for us, and we won't have to download these huge files on our computer or upload them anywhere. Everything will be done in GitHub, and the platform will be right from the start. Right now, if you also have a different platform, you can uncomment here, and you'll have to build it again. Docker, compose build. Well, that's all, and it's taking a while. We'll meet again soon. So, just so you know, this build took me almost 10 minutes because the platform is not native. But, as I said, later GitHub will do the building for us, and it will be much faster. All right, we built it. Now, we can do it again. Tag it, then push to the wide audience, already logged in. Okay, and now everything is loading again because all layers changed due to building for a different platform. Waiting again. All right, pushed everything. Now let's make a release. Okay, they said the release is ready. Let's check the logs. We see something got deployed. Release created. Now it tries to execute our CMD command. Here's run. But everything is working out for him. He ran the migrations. So, it was able to connect to the database. I'm saying that it started running. And as we can see, our logs are in this scary format because during development, we converted them to YAML. But here, they're just output in JSON. Right? And that's good for us. We won't actually look at the logs here because they aren't stored here for long. We'll monitor them later in Datadog, I suggest. For now, let's just check that the application has started. We go to ID Nick Info and see our page. Okay, so let's register. We can also log in as admin. Well, let's check if the admin was created. All right. What name and password did we set for him? I don't remember. I think it was AO1234. Yes, we logged in as admin. Let's add an idea. An A. Muddying mine. And we need a long text as well. Create idea. All ideas. Done. All ideas are saved. Done. Thus, we deploy to Heroku, but we won't deploy here like this again. In the next lesson, we'll add GitHub actions. I also want to tell you a bit more about Heroku and Docker. Here is your Docker file, so you built it somehow. If we stop our application now and start it again, all the files that were created after our image was formed. For example, if we uploaded a file to the file system, all these files will be lost. Our system is already prepared for this. We push all files to either Cloudinary or S3. You just need to understand that if you're deploying on Heroku, you shouldn't use its file system at runtime. You shouldn't save anything during the application's run and expect it to stay there. It will be deleted. Technically, Docker allows creating so-called volumes, and you can synchronize something on your local machine with the container's state. But to do this at all, you need to manage your server yourself. Managing a server yourself is a hassle. If you have the opportunity to deploy on Heroku and store all files in various clouds, etc. That will be much easier than setting up your own server and somehow synchronizing the machine's file system with the one inside the container. There. I've marked this. And now we can proceed to deployment via GitHub Actions. Thank you all. See you soon.